Generating innovations. I talked about innovation previously as very high on the list of key elements for success for startups. And I think everybody in our class is already thinking about developing an innovation, or maybe have already developed an innovation. So it's not easy to generate innovative business ideas. There are a few established methods that you can use to generate innovations. One of the successful approaches to generating innovation, we like to call decommoditizing a commodity. This is an approach taken by Starbucks, who innovated around coffee. If you think about this, it's a pretty amazing accomplishment, because coffee, it's a very low tech, very basic product, but Starbucks was able to build an innovative whole product offering around coffee, as well as a highly innovative pricing model, which we'll discuss in a later class. You can also start with personal annoyances, things that bother you, or things that you would like to see improved. For example, in the early days of eBay, some of the founders of eBay were involved in Pez dispenser collecting, and had a hard time finding certain rare Pez collectors that they would like to acquire, and realized that they could use the internet, power of the internet, to connect with other people who were trading Pez dispensers, which probably you don't even know what they are at this point. So another very interesting way to generate innovative business ideas is something that we call market cloning. So this is taking a business idea that's already been successful in one market and importing it into a new market. One, I think, very interesting example of this from right here in our own Southeast Asia region is Red Bull. Red Bull has two founders. One founder was Thai, and one founder was from Europe. The European founder was an expat in Thailand and encountered an energy drink that was popular in Bangkok. I think especially with Bangkok taxi drivers who were driving for long hours and needed more energy. And he had the idea to reformulate this drink for European taste and then bring it back to Europe. And this eventually became the basis of Red Bull. He partnered with a local Thai entrepreneur, and they created one of the most successful innovative F&B businesses in an extremely competitive market for beverage. So there are many ways to generate innovations. You can start with some of these ideas, some of these methods, and think about your own ways. Some important tips on generating scalable business ideas. Think product rather than service-based. I'll go into that in a little more detail in an upcoming slide. Choose an industry that is favorable for startups. Not all industries are equally favorable for startups. Focus on those that are. Have a strong value proposition, as I discussed in a previous slide. Solve a painful problem for customers. Be innovative. Have innovative product or business model, or product and business model. Think of ideas that are feasible and original, and don't neglect barriers to entry. If you have an idea that is innovative, solves a painful problem for customers, and has the potential to build barriers to entry around, you're off to a good start. If you don't, I would go back and rethink until you have an idea that does meet those requirements. One potential barrier to entry for a scalable business is proprietary intellectual property. And there are many sources of proprietary intellectual property that aspiring entrepreneurs can tap into. Universities and research institutes generate proprietary intellectual property all the time. this is one of their main functions, is to fund research that solves scientific or research problems that can be the source of very valuable proprietary intellectual property. And most, if not all, universities and research institutes are willing to license out this intellectual property to entrepreneurs who want to create spin-off companies from the university or research institute. So this can be a very powerful source of proprietary intellectual property to help you start building barriers to entry for your scalable startup. Now, I have begun this lecture series with the assumption that startups, scalable startups, should meet investors and raise money. However, this may not be obvious from day one, or you might wonder, why is that the case? Why should startup companies raise investment? Or should startup companies raise investment? Actually, raising investment may not be right for every startup company. There are two types of entrepreneurs that create two types of startup companies. I call these two types of companies and two types of entrepreneurs lifestyle entrepreneurs and scalable entrepreneurs. Lifestyle entrepreneurs start small and medium enterprise. They start a business that is designed to grow slowly over a long period of time and generate what I call a paycheck for entrepreneurs, meaning the lifestyle business is designed to, as quickly as possible, generate profits to support the lifestyle of the entrepreneur that founds it. And this is the vast majority of new companies are like this. And this is the traditional form of starting a new business. Scalable startup or scalable entrepreneur is trying to do something very different. The scalable entrepreneur is trying to start a company that will grow to a significant size within a very short period of time and then generate a payout for themselves and their investors. So the scalable entrepreneur focuses on increasing the value of their business as quickly as possible to grow the business as big as possible so that it can be sold for the highest possible value within a reasonably short period of time. I call this generating a payout. So these two processes, although they sound quite similar and are similar in some ways, also are very different in this fundamental way. The lifestyle entrepreneur is focusing on fast profit, and the scalable entrepreneur is focusing on longer term fast growth. So the lifestyle entrepreneur does not need to raise money for their business because the idea is for the business to become profitable very quickly, which means it'll be self-sustaining. And in fact, investors will not invest in lifestyle businesses. Why? Because there's no payout for the investor in the long run, and therefore investors can make the required return investing in lifestyle businesses. They'll only invest in scalable businesses, which have the potential to generate a required return for investors. So as an entrepreneur, it's a valid choice to be, and every entrepreneur needs to make this choice, do I want to be a lifestyle entrepreneur or scalable entrepreneur? If I want to be a lifestyle entrepreneur, there's no need and I probably won't be able to raise money. But if I want to be a scalable entrepreneur, I will need to raise money. It's very, very rare that a scalable entrepreneur successfully scales their business without investment. I know you can think of a couple of examples of this, but these are a tiny, tiny fraction of the total number of scalable businesses that ultimately succeed. When the scalable entrepreneur raises money, they will generally, in almost all cases, have to give up equity as part of their fundraising process, and this means they will not have full ownership of the business. So you can think about this as the pie for the scalable entrepreneur is shared between the entrepreneur and investor. And in a lifestyle business, the entrepreneur will likely be able to keep the entire pie to themselves. So why would it make sense for scalable entrepreneurs to share their pie with investors? This is because the scalable entrepreneur's pie will grow much bigger than the lifestyle entrepreneur's pie. So the choice for the entrepreneur comes down to, do I want a big piece of a small pie or a small piece of a big pie? The problem to avoid is I meet some entrepreneurs who want a big piece of a big pie.